I'm Joe Fresh. Welcome to another episode of Environment Today. Today we will be discussing the concerns of Canada's fresh water. We have some special guests, Dr. Charles Sotiroff from Environment Canada, and Miss Laura Rita, a concerned environmentalist from Canada Nature Watch. Some people define fresh water as available, usable, or existing. Studies show that Canada has 20% of the world's fresh water, but only 9% of that fresh water is renewable fresh water. Renewable meaning that it can be reused, made safe for human consumption, and be able to be redistributed. Fresh water is one of the most essential resources in survival. It is often used for drinking and sanitization. Dr. Sotiroff, what are the known facts about water consumption in Canada? In 2008, there was a study done by Environment Canada showing that the average Canadian uses 343 liters of fresh water per day. We are second only to Americans who consume 382 liters of water a day. The average person only needs about 100 liters of fresh water a day, but we consume almost 3 times the amount of that. These studies refer to health use only, specifically for sanitization and for drinking. The average toilet in Canada uses 15 liters of fresh water per flush, when only 6 liters are necessary. Another way we can waste water is by leaving the tap running when we're shaving or brushing our teeth. You can see how these numbers begin to add up. Miss Rita, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, I'd like to say in only this generation has there been a worry of losing our water supply. 97.5% of our water is seawater, and out of the remaining water that we have, 3/4 of it is in the polar ice caps, which doesn't leave us much. Would the big oil companies such as Cinco or Syncrude be so eager to pollute 4 barrels of water just to get a little bit of oil if there are penalties and charges against it? I don't think so. The way they pollute it is when they go down and dig deep and they find the oil, it starts to splatter all over the place, polluting the water near it. I think our lakes and rivers will run dry, and that's where we get most of our water from too. Then our only place to get water from would be melting snow and rainwater, and that is not nearly enough. The problem is in our world today, and it is in our hands to stop it before it gets out of hand.
No, Miss Rita, you have it all wrong, because there's something I like to call the water cycle. Basically, what happens is when the water starts to heat up, some of the water turns into water vapor and goes to the sky. As it gets colder and colder in the sky, clouds start to form. When the cloud gets too heavy, it lets out rain or snow depending on the temperature. And this process happens all over and over again.
I agree, but that whole operation starts from water from our lakes and rivers. We might not have that down the road. Transpiration from plants is not enough.
Okay, let's settle down here. We can have this discussion for another time. Now, Miss Rita, are you sure that oil production pollutes 4 barrels of fresh water for a single barrel of oil?
I'm certain. In 2008, the Pembini Institute on World Wildlife Canada examined the environmental impact of oil production in the oil sands of Alberta in 10 different mines. They all had a failing grade, which means there's a lot of room for improvement. What is the government doing about all of this?
Miss Rita, I'm familiar with that Pembina Institute report. Some of the recommendations on that report are designed to improve oil production procedures that would result in 60% of freshwater waste reduction. That amounts to a benefit of 75 million liters of fresh water. That report is also designed to help reduce air pollution. We have added these recommendations into our recent legislations. Okay, let's get back on track and focus on water consumption. Dr. Sotiroff, you start us off. Canada's record on water waste is terrible. The average Canadian flushes away about 80 liters of fresh water down the toilet each day. To survive, To survive, you need 2 glasses of water a day, but to be healthy, you need 5 glasses of water a day. The Canadian government has set up a rewards program for those who've switched to low-flush toilets. If we can accomplish that nationally, the average Canadian would only waste 171.5 liters of fresh water a day. There are other ways Canadians can reduce water usage, such as low-flow shower heads, more efficient washing machines, and dishwashers, and being more aware of water use habits. From there, we could slowly progress down to 40 liters of water usage per day.
This idea could work if everyone followed the rules and did what was right, which would never happen. We've been trying to do this for years, and no one's been listening or cares. With all due respect, what were you thinking when you said that? I say if we went through with this plan, only 15% of Canada will actually do this right. This plan would never work.
Are you suggesting that Canadians are not capable of saving their own environment? In the last 5 years, new condominiums and homes have been built with eco-friendly appliances. Buyer statistics show that Canadians prefer to buy green. Calm down. Let's move on to our next topic. Dr. Tier, tell us Canada's policy on exporting fresh water to the United States. Great question, Joe. Canada is 4th in international water sales, behind Russia, China, and Brazil. Like oil, America wants to buy our fresh water, and most of America's fresh water is unclean and undrinkable, so that explains why. In the 1950s, other countries have proposed deals for a good price of water.
That strikes a big debate in Canada because many people think that America will buy all our natural resources and still want more. America isn't responsible with their water. They think they can rip us off and just get a great deal out of it. We are selling water for 60 cents per liter, not including transportation expenses. That is a lot cheaper than other countries sell it for. Many people say that we should sell our fresh water for more, so we could make a better profit since we know how hard it is to purify salt water into fresh water.
That is a good plan, but we have to keep in mind that if we raise our water prices too high, people won't buy from us. There are many other places where you can buy your fresh water from. Good realization. It is my understanding that Canada has one of the largest resources of fresh water on the planet. Everyone needs fresh water and people are willing to pay a lot for it. Miss Rita, what could selling fresh water in large quantities have on the Canadian environment?
When we sell water, we lose water. Sometimes methods that remove water from our water ecosystems can disturb the flow of our lakes and rivers. If that happens, it would be very hard to restore the natural balance of our water ecosystems. There's also a concern that fish species will be affected by the lower water levels. It is a good idea to sell our water, but we have to be careful because we have to remember that we have to keep some water for ourselves because who knows, we could be the ones buying the water from other countries.
That's right, but I don't think that's our biggest worry. Dr. Tier, how can we deal with the demand for fresh water without hurting our environment? To solve these problems, I would continue to say no to bulk export, but continue to allow bottling companies to export fresh water in limited supply. Right now, the fresh water business in Canada is worth $30 billion. Our economy will still grow, just a bit slower. The environment is the most significant problem because if we run out of water, then we'll be forced to purify our own salt water or buy from the United States, which is unlikely because they're in their own water crisis. If we would buy from countries outside of North America, it'd be outrageously expensive because of shipping costs. We'd be better off purifying our own salt water. Miss Rita, you have the closing word. Is there anything you'd like to add to Dr. Tier's comments?
Water is different from other resources, and it is the right of every human being to have free public access to it. We in Canada are responsible for a large body of water, and we must guarantee that we take care of it. We must not waste it, pollute it, or divert in any way that could harm its fragile ecosystem. We must oppose international trade agreements which attempt to trade water like it's any other resource. Fresh water is our precious resource.
Dr. Charles Sotiroff and Ms. Laura Rita, thank you for your time.
It was a pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you for having me. From everyone here, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.